Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, June the 30th, 2019, 5:34 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So we're going to do our methane report for the week. We're going to look at CAMS, and then I have the NOAA readings from the 477 millibar level. And we're going to look at sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and earthquakes. So let's see what's going on. So the latest data we have from CAMS is from Thursday the 27th. They're getting behind. Again, they do this. They'll stay pretty caught up, like just a day behind on posting, and then they get way behind, and then they do a whole bunch of catch up. So I have Thursday the 27th loaded up with the Arctic view and surface level, and this is from Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services website out of the EU. So this is where it left off on Wednesday, with this release turning into yellow here at the northern end of Novaya Zemlya. We're also seeing different colors of green coming across the Arctic, meaning these are different levels of methane being released, and the lighter the color, the higher the methane level that's being released. And then we're seeing Finland is covered up in methane, and well, you'll see as we run the movie, it moves around. But so the data is from Thursday, and then the forecast is Friday through Monday, Friday through tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get some new methane data soon. I don't like it when they get all backed up like this, and then they'll release like 2 days in one day, and it's up for an hour, and I have to record it right then as soon as I see it, and if I don't, it's gone. But that's what I'm doing. So here's a large release in Siberia, another large release over here, and Alaska has large releases as well. This area in Canada has a large release area as well. And notice the dark releases continuously out of the Kara Sea here to the northeast of Novaya Zemlya. We're also starting to see waves of the methane moving out of the land now, and we're seeing yellow now moving up out of the Arctic Ocean here. We're also seeing here in the Chukchi Sea lighter colors of green, and in the forecast period it kind of gets into the yellow over here. Let's see if it's going to do it now. I was seeing a yellow tinge. I can't remember whether it was during the data or during the forecast period. Watch here. It was right there. Okay, it was in Friday. It was popping up almost bright yellow there. I don't know why this is not wanting to play the movie, but that's the Arctic view. Now let's look at the North Pole view. You'll get to see the whole northern hemisphere. We may not load up this whole movie. depending on how long it takes. You're going to see large releases here from the middle part of the United States further to the east, and large releases in Europe and England and Saudi Arabia, northern India. China is also, you're going to see like waves releasing up from China, and Japan as well, very large. So let's see if this is going to load up for us. Oh, we also, I promised last night, I'd promised I'd show the methane coming up in the Antarctic. It shocked me when I saw it, but it's definitely coming up. You can definitely see it. It's not in the black range or dark brown, but it's definitely in a color different than this dark blue. So now that's an area we've got to be watching, and see this wave here coming off the coast of the United States, the eastern coast, and now it's moving out, and we're actually seeing more blues in spite of the hot weather. But in the areas where they're having the hot weather, we're seeing a lot of green in the background and a lot of orangey and yellow in the background as well. But in spite of seeing a lot more blue, methane did go up on the NOAA reading this week on the 477 millibars. So that means in the areas that you're seeing the methane release, it's higher to compensate the for the areas that you're seeing the blue. I'm gonna get the Antarctic view. Trying to find it. Oh, here it is. Okay, so generally they're in this dark blue range. Most of it is in this dark blue range, which is 1800 parts per billion now on this new color chart. This new color coding ledger that was done by CAMS back in December of 2018. So this is 1800 parts per billion, this dark blue. And then the next lighter blue is 1820, and then the next lighter blue from that is 1840, and so on. Now this is South America over here. This is the southern tip of South America. So let's go, just so we can see the outline of the continent. I'm going to switch to 500 HPA, which is 500 millibars, and we're seeing, so this is about halfway up in the atmosphere, or about 18,000 feet up. We're seeing the green come all the way down, skirting the coast, skirting the outline of this eastern Antarctic. So here's the western peninsula. This is the Weddell Sea. Right in here is the Brunt ice sheet. Now what we're going to be seeing, oh, this is the Pine Island Glacier area. This is the Ross Sea over here. This is the Amory ice sheet over here. So what we're going to be seeing is release from this area, kind of in this area, release all along these Larsen ice sheets over here and all along over here, and then on this western side of the peninsula, and then down here at Pine Island Glacier. So fasten your seatbelt, and you have to have a discerning eye to see this, and you may have to enlarge the screen in order to see it. So here, let's load this up. We're already seeing some right here. This is in the kind of the light blue-green, kind of in the 1900 range. And then here's the Larsen C, here's the Larsen B. There's quite a large area releasing here. Here's on the west side of the peninsula. Now watch here for in the Pine Island Glacier area where my pointer is. I'm pointing to it, so I'm not sure when that pops up. I just saw some come up on the Amory ice shelf. Look at this wave coming down. Okay. I thought I saw something here at Pine Island. Look down here. And if you look at either NASA World View and turn on the ice concentration layer, or if you look at Climate Reanalyzer for snow and sea ice, you'll see that even though they're in the middle of the winter time and it's totally dark, there's no sun down there, you'll see that there are areas around where this ice is not come up to the coastline. Ooh, look at this. Now this is out in the ocean. This is the Weddell Sea right in here. So that was in the ocean, quite a large release. Now here it's releasing all along this side here and all along. Now this is in the forecast period, but that's according to their data set. Here's some up here, here's some over on the Amory ice sheet. So I haven't seen this before. So this is one more thing we have to watch now. I've read some of Sam Carana's old blog posts about methane, and he's been doing research on methane release in the Antarctic for many years, and he has records of high releases coming up, like 2200 parts per billion, and maybe even higher down here in the past years. And now let's look at the global level. So here's what it's looking like globally. Let me go back to the beginning of this period. So this is starting on Thursday. So the background level we can see is a much higher green all the way up here in Siberia. They've got fires burning up in Siberia, and this area is very black. That's in the Finland area. And if we run this movie, sometimes it takes a long time to load up the global view. Just depends. And look at how dark it is. This whole eastern part of the United States. Here's California. It's releasing more. Here's New Zealand. Here's the eastern side of Australia and this southwest tip. You can see Australia, the outline, because of the methane. And here we can see down in the Antarctic, here's the western peninsula. And here it is on the side of the west of the Weddell Sea. And here's another little popping up and popping up. So if we look at 500 HPA, this is about as close as we can compare to the 477 from NOAA, 477 millibars from NOAA. This is what 500 HPA looks like on Thursday. And so what we're seeing, and I have to refresh to get the right color code for this level, because it's a different color code. So what we're seeing is that this green level is moving further south. It used to be up here, right around the equator, and that's moving south. And we're even getting up into the orange colors, getting below the equator. We're getting very high levels over here in China, China and Asia. And if you want to see total column, here's total column, and this is, every time I look at total column, it's worse over here. This is the reading all the way through all the levels from the ground up, and it's getting worse over here in Asia, China, in this Asian area, and northern India. And last year when I was showing methane, that was not red like this on total column, not over here. There was some red, but not in that dark brown. So it's definitely getting worse. Now, on sulfur dioxide, remember we had all these volcanoes going off, and we're seeing the residue from the Raikoki explosions, and here it is from today. And this is the global view. Here's where it's spreading out and dispersing across the Arctic, and this is from, I don't think all of this is from the Raikoki. I think there's been some more release that we didn't know about, and but it's now in the red zone, is coming down and coming across Canada, and we've got red entering the United States too. And this is total column, of course, so this is the cloud, the mass where it's coming over, and here the large mass coming over Siberia. And then this is left over from the Methane explosion and the Uluwatu explosion this week, those volcanoes going off. And if we look at the Pacific view, you can get a better idea. a closer up view. Here's Papua New Guinea down here. Here's Australia. Here's Kamchatka, Russia. Here's Korea. Here's China over here. This is all Siberia over here. Here's Alaska. And here's Canada and the United States. So we see very dark area coming across here in the northwestern United States. And if we look at the North Pole view, this is how it's spreading out over the Arctic. It's dense in red coming all the way across to the North Pole. Then there's an arm that's coming down over Greenland and then across over to Norway. And this coming all the way across Russia and so on. So now let's look at carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide runs the same reporting days as the methane. So the latest data we have on carbon dioxide is from Thursday the 27th. So we're seeing the higher levels. This is total column around the mid part, or from the equator up in the northern hemisphere, and very high over India, highest over India. And the carbon dioxide, the latest carbon dioxide reading was from yesterday. The Mauna Loa Observatory reported 413.01 parts per million yesterday. So here's the NOAA page with that. So here's the last few days. It's been around 4. The lowest it was on the 27th. It was 412.98. On the 25th, it was 413.80. All-time record highs for CO2 daily averages was this on May 15th. For Scripps, it read 415.70 parts per million, and on NOAA and ESRL it was 415.64 parts per million on May 15th. And that's the all-time record high. So that's this year, but it's gone down a little since then. Now on June 29th of 2015, it was 411.57 parts per million. So it's just a little bit lower than what it is today. So there's that. And so this is what it looks like at total column. If you look at surface level, you can see exactly where the very high levels are. And look at, this is in the Congo in Africa. This is in the northern part of South America, and so on. And then if we go like 500 HPA, halfway up in the atmosphere, this is what it looks like. That doesn't look much different than total column. Let's look at 850. So here's 500. And this dark brown is 1,000 parts per million. So I would say this area to the east of India, right in here, I would say that's 1,000. It's anywhere in between 420 and 1,000 parts per million. And then at 300, here's what it looks like. This looks different. Here it is at 50 HPA, where it's so high up in the atmosphere, it's just gathered around the equator. And then back to total column. So we'll leave this as a backdrop. I have to show my NOAA data now. So there are four readings from NOAA twice every day. There are 2 satellites that rotate, taking measurements around the Earth. METOP 1 and METOP 2. They take a morning reading and an afternoon reading each. So this is from the 477 millibar. It says 469 when you click on the graph or the GIF to get to here, but it's 477. So the mean is 1876. This is parts per billion. The range was 1495 to 2366. This fuchsia color is in the high range. That's the highest. And we can see it over Siberia, Russia, and parts of Europe. This is like what we saw in CAMS, except it's not on the same day. We can also see some of these higher readings down here in the Antarctic. Not exactly in the same place, and where it's gray they say no data, and where it's white they say no data. So it's hard to compare different reporting systems, but we do the best we can. Here we have a lot of missing data on the METOP 1 afternoon reading. This is all from yesterday, the 29th. A lot of white areas. The mean was 1878. The range was 1496 to 2339. So that means the lowest it read was this 1496, which is down here. I can't show you. It's just under that 1500 on the graph, the orange. That was the lowest. Here's the Met-Op2 in the morning. The mean was 1857. The range was 1511 to 2432. We're seeing a lot of orangey, red-orange down here in the Antarctic. And here's the Met-Op2 for the afternoon. And the mean was 1855, and the range was 1526 to 2396. So now I took those numbers and plugged them into my spreadsheet. Just added them up and divided by 4. And so the average for 477 millibars from yesterday was 1866.50 parts per billion. That went up 1.5 parts per billion from last week. And since we started recording this, since March the 1st, it's gone up 9.25 parts per billion. And it's tied with our highest reading so far, 1866.50 on April the 6th. So we're back up here now. So there's that. Now let's move on to the next part of our report. The Oroville lake level. I don't know what's going on here. They show it that the lake level is going down. At the 6 o'clock reading, it was 894.99. So this is the first time we've seen it under 895 in a very long time. But okay, so what they've done is they've increased the outflow, and the inflow is less now than the outflow. They've increased the outflow through the Hyatt power plant. But I want to show you something. We're going to go to earlier. I'm going to put this in Excel so that we can get a larger view here. So here's the date and time, and so this is from last night, where we see that the inflow was okay at 7 o'clock, yet last night it was 55.20, and then at 8 o'clock it was 47.64, and then 44.67. Then it was going up 49.40, and then at 11 o'clock 56.45. At midnight it was 58.82. At 1 in the morning it was 85.02. Now this is cubic feet per second, so that was a big jump. At 2 in the morning it was 67.99, and at 3 o'clock in the morning it was a negative, see that minus sign, negative 2,573. And then at 4 o'clock, 4 a.m., it was also a negative 3,029 CFS. And I don't know how that could be unless they're just screwing with the numbers. I don't understand. And then at 5 a.m. it was 36.95. At 6 a.m. it was 36.87. Unless they're trying to make up for some mistake that they made up here in data entry. But I don't understand. And then the outflow has been around 7,500. So if anyone can explain that, I sure don't have an explanation for that, for those two negative readings. I mean, that would have to be a lot of water that's gone. How can you have a negative inflow like that? You can't. It would be zero. So there's something wrong there. So at 6 o'clock it was 894.99. At 5 o'clock it was 895.01. The outflow was 7470. The inflow was 3001. So it's going down a little bit. Now let's look at our earthquake report. We just had a 5.1 come in at Mutsu, Japan. Let's see if that's on land. No, it's in the ocean. Alright. Well, they're coming in. They're coming in fast and furious around the planet now. So we have USGS, all magnitudes pulled up for the last 24 hours, showing 251 today. Of those, 38 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So let's see what's about to come off the map. This 4.5 near Ori, Japan, came in at 6:13 last night. There might be a little overlap from my show from last night, but I think I showed that. It was in the ocean off the coast of Japan. This came in at 6:13 last night. Let's just start with Japan while we're over here. Well, let's see if something else is about to come off the map. Here's this 4.4 at Turkey. That was at 6:18 last night. Yeah, I think we got that one. Some of this is overlap, like I said. 4.3 at Adak, Alaska. That came in as I was finishing the show. That was at 6:42 last night. 4.0 at Culebra, Puerto Rico, came in at 6:50 last night. Then a 2.6 at Charlotte, Amelie, U.S. Virgin Islands. These are over here in the Caribbean. And then a 3.0 at Chignik Lake, Alaska at 7:09. So let's start. See, there's just another one just popped up. Let's start over here in the Caribbean. Just because we've had some big ones over here, or larger ones. In the last 24 hours, we're showing 29. So this is a definite uptick. The largest one is this 4. Well, I don't know if that's the largest. Yeah, a 4.5. This is on land at the Dominican Republic, near Salvillon de Higüey, Dominican Republic, at 11:37 last night, 113 kilometers deep. That could cause damage. That's big enough that it could cause damage, depending on what was nearby. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm back. Look at this cluster here. So let's go around. Here's a 3.0 in the ocean near Punta Cana. Here's a 2.1 in the ocean near Puerto Real. Here's a cluster of 9. Some different reporting stations, but they're all in the same place. 1.9, they're calling it Canas Abajo, Puerto Rico. Oh, Rio Canas Abajo. Okay, 1.2, 1.3, 1.2, 1.7, 1.2, 1.3, 1.6, and 1.4. So those are not big enough to cause damage, but it's definitely an uptick in earthquakes, and to see them clustered like that. Here's one in the ocean, a 1.5 near Dorado, Puerto Rico. Here's 2 together in the ocean, a 2.0 and a 2.4 near Esperanza, Puerto Rico. And then a 3.0 near Roadtown, British Virgin Islands. 3.4, same. And let's get this cluster here. These are, we've got some different reporting stations too, but it's all in the same area. I'm gonna, this 4.0 was near Culebra, Puerto Rico, in the ocean at 6:50 this evening. So we've got 11 here in this ocean area. I'm going to call them off. This was last night, at 6:50 last night. 4.0, 2.6, 3.8, 2.6, 3.3, 2.9, 2.4, 2.4, 2.7, 3.3, and 2.9. So these are getting bigger. We've got some 3s and high 2s in there. Nothing in the 1 range there in that area. And then here's another one of 4.1 near La Plaine, Dominica. This one came in at 8:30 this morning, and that was in the ocean. And here's Dominica, that little island. So there's those. While we're over here, let's go ahead and look at this one. 4.8 near Puerto Madero, Mexico, at 4:32 this afternoon. 4:34 this afternoon. This is in the ocean. Then down here in South America was a 4.3, and this was at 12:41 this morning near Chuquitura, Peru, 168 kilometers deep. And a 4.4, the same place, at 4:18 this afternoon at 167 kilometers deep. Then this one is new, a 4.2 near Calama, Chile at 5:33 this afternoon, 161 kilometers deep. These times I'm telling you are all Pacific time because this is my time zone. Then down here, 4.5 near Iapal, Chile at 10:50 last night, a 4.2 near Zonda, Argentina at 3:26 this afternoon, 112 kilometers deep, 4.5 near Quasite, Argentina at 5:48 this afternoon, 100 kilometers deep. That one's new. Now let's come across the ocean. Down in the South Pacific, 4.2 near Mombasa, Fiji at 12:14 this morning. Very deep, 642 kilometers deep. That's one of the deepest ones I've seen, if not the deepest. Then over here, off the coast of Papua New Guinea, a 4.6 near Lae, Papua New Guinea at 1:56 this morning, 194 kilometers deep. Now Manam is right up here. Let me see if I can find it. This is Manam right here. So it's not that far. It's just like right there. And that was the volcano that went off 2 days ago. So next, up here in Japan, this is the new one that came in at 5.1 in the ocean near Mutsu at 5:37 this afternoon. Then here's one on land on Hokkaido. This is a 4.5 near Shimo Furano at 11:53 last night, 166 kilometers deep. Then here's another one off the coast of Kamchatka, a 4.4 that came in at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So we've been seeing them here in the last few days, a whole bunch of them. So that's all of our international earthquakes. So now on all magnitudes, let's pop over to Hawaii next. We've got 7 here. We've got one in the ocean, a 2.3 near Pahala, and then these are all connected like with Kilauea. So I'm just going to call them off. A 1.7, 1.9, 2.2, 2.0, 1.9, and a 2.6. That's the highest one. That's the last one that came in. That came in at 5:43 this afternoon at a minus 0.2 kilometers depth. So it was up in the mountain. That's the magma moving, causing that. That's all part of Kilauea on the flank. Remember, Kilauea was the volcano that the side of it collapsed and was flowing into the Pacific Ocean last year. Sliding. Okay, Alaska has 84 today. Of those, we have 8 that are 2.5 magnitude or higher. We're going to start down here in ADAC. There was a 4.3 at 6:42 last night, and then a 4.7, that's getting up there, at 7:21 this morning. Here's a 3.0 at Chicknig Lake at 7:09 last night. That might be an overlap. A 3.1 at Nick Fairview at 5:28 this morning. 3.2 at Kobuk at 10:45 this morning. And then we've got 3 larger ones up here at Koktovik, a 3.1, 2.7, and a 3.7. So those are getting larger. Those are definitely getting larger. And now if we look at all magnitudes and zoom in, here are these 2 down at ADAC. Here's this one at Chicknig Lake. Here's one 2.1 near Dillingham. And when we come up into this Cook Inlet, remember we looked at the Old Iliamna and the Redoubt volcanoes yesterday. We saw those. So we've got both of those right in here. And so anytime we've got volcanoes and earthquakes together, that's not a good mix. And these are Anchor Point and Redoubt volcano. Here we're seeing more of a cluster here at Anchorage today. This 3.1 at Fairview, it's in the Anchorage region. So in this view today, we've got 45. Just from where we're looking right now, there's 45 where they're spreading up into the mountains and spreading out. If we zoom in a little bit, there are 30 now. And so we can see they're clustering more around the Anchorage area. And then doing this spreading out and clustering in different places. And here's Fairbanks. And here's 2.4 at Manly Hot Springs. At Kobuk, we have 12 today. And we saw a larger one at this 3.2. That's the highest one. And the rest are like mid ones and under. And then this one is a 1.9. And then we've got, we saw that 2.4. Let's look at Koktovik. 1.1 Arctic Village. And so on. So we got 4 up here at Koktovik today. 2.1 is the lower one, and the others we already looked at. And then we got some coming down in the little armpit. Here's another ice quake, a 1.8 at Yakutat. And another 1.8 ice quake at Yakutat. Now let's move on into the lower 48. We've got 119 here today. We've got 1 in Oklahoma, so that's gone way down. A 1.6 at Medford. Arizona's clear, Utah is clear. Now in the Yellowstone region we have 3. We've got a 1.5 at Salmon, Idaho, a 2.7 and a 1.2 both at Lincoln, Montana. So that 2.7 is getting up there. And here in the Pacific Northwest we have 13 here today. Now on our tremor map it's showing no tremors from yesterday, and that's the latest data. So either they didn't get readings or there were no tremors. I find it suspicious that there are no tremors 2 days in a row, especially. So we've got 13, so that's an uptick. We've got a whole bunch at Mount St. Helens. So we're going to look at that separately. So we're going to start here. We've got a cluster of 3 at Desert Air, a 0.2, 0.4, and a 1.5. Then here's 0.6 at Packwood. That's right next to Mount Rainier. And this is a 0.9 at Walna, 1.5 at Bethel, and a 1.3 at Seebeck. Remember a few days ago we saw a huge clustering of tremors up here, and the tremors are what are measured before earthquakes happen. So we've got 6 here at Mount St. Helens, or at Amboy. Some of these are microquakes. If it's a -1, that's a microquake. So this one is by itself. That's a -0.1. That's the first one. Here's a 0.4. Now these are in or near the crater of Mount St. Helens. 0.4, -0.1, 1.4, -0.1, and a -0.1. And the last one came in at 1:13 this afternoon. So if we zoom in, this is where they're located. That's in the crater, it looks like to me. Yep. So 1.4, that's getting up there. That's the highest one. Now let's come on down into Northern California. And we've got one to the east of Redding, a 1.4 near Bella Vista at 2:59 this afternoon at a -0.2 kilometer depth. So that epicenter is up in the mountain. And this is just to the south of Lake Shasta, right there. And just to the east of that was a 2.3 near Shingletown at 3:55 this afternoon. And here's Lake Almanor over here. Then coming on down into the Reno area, we've got 7 here today. We've got one on the edge of Pyramid Lake, a 0.4 that came in at 3:07 this morning. Here's a 0.3 near Spanish Springs. It's actually east of town, east of Sparks on the way to Fernley, about halfway between Sparks and Fernley. That came in at 3:23. So the first one The Pyramid Lake one came in at 307. This one came in at 323. And then 307, 323. Alright. Down here, 0.4 at Virginia City, 0.2 at Cold Springs, 0.1 near Tahoe Vista. This is to the north of Lake Tahoe. And it looks like we've got a couple here at Truckee or Portola, 0.7 and a 0.3, or both at Portola. Now, a couple of these are at the surface, so there's no depth where it says 0 kilometers. That means it was at the surface for whatever reason. Now coming on down, we've got a 1.2 near Bridgeport, but it's across the border in Nevada near Hawthorne. Here's a 0.9 Hawthorne. Here's a 1.1 at Big Pine and a 0.7 at Big Pine, right on the border. And then in southern Nevada, we've got some small ones down here, but look at this. This just started up this afternoon. This is at Pioche. All of these, and we had a large one. We had a 4.2. I thought it was a 4.5 when it first came in. They must have downgraded it. This came in this afternoon at 4:43 this afternoon, 3 kilometers deep. And we can see they're still coming in. We can see these red dots. They're still coming in. So let's just call them off. So that was at 4:43. Then a 1.2 at 4:48. A 1.0 at 5:02. These are all PM. 2.0 at 5:03. 1.3 at 6:02 and a 1.4 at 6:10. That's the last one that's come in. So there's those last two that are in the red. So we'll take a peek at this before we finish our earthquake report tonight. So I don't know what's going on down there. It's all very strange. But that's large for that area. Now let's come down the east side of California. We have one at Mammoth Lake, so 1.8. Then down here in the Coso Junction area, we've got 6 here today. 1.8 is the highest, and that's here at Lone Pine. And then we've got these small ones at Coso. The largest one at Coso is this 1.3. And here's a 1.1 at Kernville. Then down here, a 2.0 near Pahrump, 0.8 near Pahrump, and 0.8 near Sandy Valley. Here's an explosion or blast, a 1.4 quarry blast at Boron. Now generally you won't see a lot of quarry blasts and explosions on a Saturday or a Sunday, because generally the earthquake makers the guys who are out there doing quarry blasting and construction and stuff are taking Saturday and Sunday off in the United States. But occasionally we'll see a quarry blast at Boron or somewhere else on a Sunday, which is what we just did. So here in Southern California, we're showing 46 today. Let's see if any of those are 2.5 or higher. No, they're not. So we've got a little row here, a pattern. I like to look at patterns. That's 1.7 Ocotillo Wells, 1.2 Pine Valley, 1.6 Julian, and a 0.9 Julian. 0.8 Borrega Springs. Here's a new one, 1.1 Warner Springs. Here's the Cahuilla area. Let's look at Glen Avon. We've got 19 here today. This is including Fontana. But here's Glen Avon. Let's see. Let's just catch some of the larger ones. A 2.1 at Fontana. And 1.6 at Fontana. Most of the, well, it's about half Fontana, half Glen Avon. But it's basically the same place. The rest are under that. They're mainly ones. In the ones range. Here's a 1.0 at Chino Hills. Now let's come on up. This red line, the San Andreas Fault Line. Here's a 1.3 Parkfield. 1.4 Tres Pinos, 1.4 Morgan Hill, 1.4 Pacheco, and then the Geysers has 18 today, so that's gone way down. None of those are 2.5 or higher. So this 1.6 is the highest. $18. That's kind of average. Average low. That's kind of average for a weekend reading, is what I was trying to say. Let's take a peek back over here at Pioche. 1.4. That was the last one. At 6:10 p.m. What's going on up here? 2.1 Anchor Point, that came in at 6:36. Uh-oh. This one's new. We've got a 5.0 in Tajikistan, Karakinja, Tajikistan, at 6:14 this afternoon. That would be big enough to do damage if it was near buildings. Here's a new, I think this is a new one too. I can't remember if I showed this one. 4.5 Cossetti, I think I showed that at 5:48. Yeah, I showed that. I think I just showed it again just in case. So I think that's it for our report tonight. So I hope everyone is surviving and doing as well as possible. I watched a video this afternoon about sewer water that's coming up through commodes because of broken sewer lines and backed up sewers and stuff in these areas that have flooded, and just all around the country. It was like 10 or 15 different places all around the country, and it basically ruined the people's houses. It was just like exploding out of the commodes like a volcano, and then filling up the house. And they're moving people into FEMA things. It's insane. It's awful. It's just awful. And then you've got all the disease and stuff, and so the floods, we're just now seeing the beginning of the awful aftermath of the floods that we've had in the United States. And it's not really stopping that much, especially if they have more rain. It's just awful. So there will be diseases from that. So I'm praying for everybody. And I think we're in the end times. I don't know how close we are. I think we're close. I mean, every day we're closer than we were the day before, obviously. But we just have to be ready anytime. So I recommend everyone get their spiritual house in order. That's about the best you can do. So until next time, God bless you all. Go in peace and good night.